I want to talk a little bit this morning about identity. There are lots of moments in our lives where identity gets questioned. I can remember a few growing up. I remember a moment in year 5 or 6 where I didn't make the football squad for a particular game. And I thought I was better than some of the players who got there. And it shook my identity. Or another moment in high school, I'd, I played Judas in Jesus Christ Superstar, arguably the main role. And then the next time that we were putting on a show, actually never happened in the end, but when they were casting for the show, having been the main part, that was like my thing. I didn't even get any of the main parts. I was like a sort of chorus member, and that shook my identity. It can do that, can't it? Even just recently, a few weeks ago, I was in a competition. On the side, I try and do a little bit of comedy, and I was in a musical comedy competition in London. And I got through my heat. I was in the quarterfinal, and I thought I'd stormed it. I thought I was funny. The people had really gone with me and laughed. I had a good feeling after it, but I didn't get through, and it shook my identity. I thought my talent, my practice had done something, but it shook me. Now, they're silly, trivial things, but we're in a place right now where our identity is being shaken. I've got friends who are musicians who've gone from working all the time to working not at all. Our identity's shaken. I've got a friend who runs a cafe who's had to lay off some staff temporarily. Our identity shaken. People who work in retail. For lots of us, people's identity has been shaken. The place where we, without realizing it, we kind of define who we are. Oh, I have that job. I have that place. I help those people. I'm part of that social group. That's what I do. And that defines our identity. And right now, that feels really shaken. I feel that a little bit. Maybe you do too. Maybe you don't. Maybe you're skipping through life. I've still got good news for you as well. But for lots of us, our identity feels shaken. We're a bit lost in what's going on. The things that we rely on aren't so reliable at the moment. And we're starting a series today called Because Jesus. We're going to be looking over the next 8 weeks about things that change because of Jesus. And today we're talking about this, because Jesus came. Because Jesus came. And as I said, we're going to be in the book of John for the coming weeks on our Sundays, as well as on our daily patterns each day and our pattern Wednesdays. We're going to be in the book of John. Our kids are also in the book of John. If you're watching the video Lizzie made for the kids. So we're starting today at John chapter 1. I'm reading from the Good News Bible. There's 2 reasons that I love the Good News Bible. Firstly, I like the size of this one. I wanted one I could hold when I preach. It's a good size. Also, though, it's made by the Bible Society. So on the back of my Bible, it says Swindon. So we've got my Bible made in Swindon. The word going from Swindon. It makes me smile each time. Come on, Swindon. Anyway, we're in John chapter 1. I'm going to read verses 1 to 14. If you've got a Bible, you can search for it on your phone. Well, there it is. It's coming up on the screen. So it says this. John chapter 1, verse 1 to 14. In the beginning, the Word already existed. The Word was with God, and the Word was God. From the very beginning, the Word was with God. Through him, God made all things. Not one thing in all creation was made without him. The Word was the source of life, and this life brought light to humanity. The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has never put it out. God sent his messenger, a man named John, who came to tell people about the light, so that all should hear the message and believe. He himself was not the light. He came to tell about the light. This was the real light, the light that comes into the world and shines on everyone. We could do a bit of that at the moment, couldn't we? The Word was in the world, and though God made the world through him, yet the world did not recognize him. He came to his own country, but his own people did not receive him. Some, however, did receive him and believed in him, and he gave them the right to become God's children. They did not become God's children by natural means, that is, by being born as a children of a human father. God himself was their father. The Word became a human being and full of grace and truth, lived among us. We saw his glory, the glory which he received as the Father's only Son. So I'm going to pray, God, as we dive into this together, won't you speak to each and every one of us, whether we're in our beds, on our sofas, at our dining room table, whether we're here often or this is our first time at Pattern Church. I pray you speak to every single one of us. Amen. Amen. So we're talking about because Jesus came. And then John lays out a couple of really important things before we dive into the main stuff for today. He's talking about Jesus in verse 1. He says, in the beginning, the Word already existed. The Word was with God, and the Word was God. So he's talking about Jesus. And what he's saying is that Jesus was with God from the start. Now, Christians talk about the Trinity, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. And what this says is that they were always together. Jesus wasn't an afterthought that was sort of created 2,000 years ago. He was always there. He's God. He's eternal. Hold that thought. That's really important. He's not just a great teacher. He's not just the Son of God. He is God. He always has been, always will be. And then it goes on to say in verse 3 that through him, God made all things. Not one thing in all creation was made without him. So we're still talking about Jesus. And what it's saying is that Jesus was there in creation. That Jesus was as much creator as God the Father. They were in it together. So when we reminded in verse 14 that the Word became a human, other translations say the Word became flesh. When Jesus started walking on the earth, that was God stepping into creation. That was the Creator stepping into his own creation. That is crazy. That is Jesus leaving heaven to come to us. That Jesus left heaven to come to us. I don't know if you've ever left somewhere brilliant to go and be with him, with someone you love. We remember a couple of years ago, it was one of my cousin's birthday parties. Now my dad was one of 7, so I've got a lot of cousins, and we don't get together anywhere near enough as we should. But whenever we are, it's always special. And this was going to be a fun party. There was a marquee with a disco in it. There was bouncy castles for the kids. There's lots of kids now when you've got 20 plus cousins. There was fun games to play. It was going to be a whole afternoon and evening, just loads of fun time all together. I was really looking forward to it. We'd driven quite far to get there. It was going to be great. But as we arrived, my mum got a phone call saying that actually, so my nan was in hospital at the time, saying that she really wasn't well. This might be it, and we should go. And so me and my mum left what was going to be a cracking party, a brilliant time, to go and be with my nan. And actually, we had a really special evening, and that was one of our last times. She died a couple of weeks later. But it gives us a glimpse into the fact that Jesus left heaven to come to earth. He came from heaven to be with us, to bring light to us. But why did he come? Why did Jesus come? Well, we're told in verse 12, it says that some, however, did receive him and believed in him. It's where it gets juicy. So he gave them the right to become God's children. Jesus came. Because Jesus came, we can be God's children. We can be God's children. That is absolutely just crazy. When you think about that for a moment, you and me, we can be children of God. And if you've been around church, you might have heard that phrase a few times. It can get a little bit familiar. It is absolutely ridiculous that the perfect, holy, brilliant God who spoke creation into being invites us not to be his slaves, not to be his subjects, not to be like robots. That's my robot. Not to be robots that do what he says, but to be children. That would be like, I don't know, if I saw Jurgen Klopp in the street, I ran over to him, Mr. Klopp, Mr. Klopp. And rather than his bodyguard stopping me, he talks to me. I say, Mr. Klopp, I'd love to come to the next Liverpool game. I'm not sure when that'll be. But he invites me, and he doesn't only give me a seat, he says, actually, have a kit. You're going to be up front with Mo Salah. It's that kind of a thing that we're being invited to be children. Or it's like if I went to Windsor where the Queen is at the moment, and I managed to break into the palace, and rather than the soldiers in their big black hats chasing me away, I'd if the Queen said, "Oh, Joel, it's so great to see you. Come and eat with us. Come and be part of the family. Come and stay here." It's like that, but times a million. God invites us to be his children. Because Jesus came, you and I can be his children. And that changes everything. It changes everything. Because Jesus came, we can be children of God. We have a new identity. This is who I am. I don't have to earn it. Nothing can change it. This is who I am. I've got two boys. And ever so often, one of them will say to me, "Dad, will you still be my dad when I'm a grown up?" And I say to them, "I will always be your dad. That's who you are. You are my child." And that's how it is with God, that we are invited to be children of God because Jesus came. In another place, in Matthew chapter 7, verse 11, Jesus says to the people listening, to his disciples, "As bad as you are, you know how to give good gifts to your children. How much more then will your Father in heaven give good things to those who ask?" And what he's telling us is that actually, we as humans are never perfect parents. And you may have had a difficult experience with your dad. He may not have been present, or he may have been unhelpful. But even those of us who had great dads, our parents are still flawed. But God is the perfect Father who wants to give good things to me and to you. And because Jesus came, you and I can be children of God. Now, I remember when I was I was probably 10 years old, I got a door key to my parents' house. That meant that when I got back from school, I could let myself in, I could sort myself out. Now, I kept that key all through my teenage years. When I left home, I kept the key. When my mum got her house redone, got a new door, I got a new door key. My mum's recently moved to Swindon. Awesome. I've got a key to a new house. I can go into my mum's house at any time of day or night, let myself in. I can relax on the sofa. I can make myself a sandwich. I can eat whatever I want. I can actually basically take anything that I need from the house, and she'll be fine with that because I'm her child. Now, if you go to my mum's house, let yourself in, take whatever you want, sit and watch the telly, she should call the police because you're not a child. But because of Jesus, we can be children of God. Not held at a distance, not held at arm's length, not just like allowed in a little bit, not here sort of snuck in on the side, try and get in without him seeing you. No, children of God, irrespective of what you've done to earn it, irrespective of whether you get things right or wrong, whether you hurt people or help people, whether you live out what you feel God's called you to do, or whether you fail, we are invited because of Jesus to be children of God. Because Jesus came, he died on a cross for you and for me. We can be forgiven and we can have this relationship with God, you and me. Because Jesus came, we can be children of God. Not far away, but close, not held at a distance, but embraced by God right now. And we had a really fun service a few weeks ago at Patton Church. We baptized a bunch of people, and several of them, when they shared their story, they talked about the difference it makes that they are children of God, that they know they are children of God. I know I'm a child of God, so I'm not alone. God's with me. I'm loved. My identity is not based on my achievements. My value is not based on my valuables. And right now, as things are shaking for lots of us, we need to be reminded that our identity isn't in our stuff. And our identity can be found in the fact that we are children of God. Because Jesus came, we are children of God. I remember as a youngster, if I ever walked anywhere with my dad, it didn't matter how scary, how dark, how difficult the place seemed. If I was walking with my dad, I knew I'd be okay. He may have been scared, but he never showed it. But I knew if I was walking with my dad, I was going to be fine. And that is even more true for us, walking with our Heavenly Father. It's going to be okay. And right now, things are real and scary. This coronavirus is real and scary. We're worried about our health and the health of our loved ones. We're worried about jobs and income and our future. And those worries are real. But because Jesus came, you can know that you are a child of God, that you're walking with God right now, that He is with you, that it is going to be okay. That our identity is not based on our stuff, but it's based on whose we are. That you are a child of God. And we can say no to this. You don't have to. It says in verse 11 of John 1, it says he came to his own country, but his own people did not receive him. You know, we don't have to walk as children of God. We can try it on our own if we want. But through faith in Jesus, we can live like children who know who we are. We can push into a relationship with God. We can walk with him, not without him, knowing that we're loved, accepted, invited. We've got a vision at Pattern Church. Our vision is inviting people into family to serve Swindon. We believe that the message of Jesus changes lives now and forever. So we want to invite people. And there's 200,000 people in our town who don't know Jesus. And we want to tell them about him, not for our sake, but for theirs. But we want to invite people into family. And there's two parts to that. Part of that, a big part is that we do life together. We journey together. And we're going to try and do that right now through this season where people are a bit more isolated. We're family together. But we're also family because each one of us is a child of God. Each one of us, our identity is based on what Jesus has done, not what we've done. We're children of God. And from that place, we're serving Swindon. So the vision only happens inviting people into family to serve Swindon when we know whose we are, that we are children of God. Because Jesus came, we can be children of God. And we need to be reminded of this now more than ever. Imagine if each one of us walked through this season not on our own, but with God. Not basing our identity on the things that can be shaken, but basing our identity on something that will never change. That we are children of God, that we are known, loved, and forgiven, that God is with us. Imagine the new joy we could walk with. Imagine the new peace that each one of us could carry. Imagine the life if we pushed into that relationship, if we got our identity from there, if we started each day saying, I'm living today as a child of God. That's where I'm getting my identity from. I'm significant enough as it is. I'm going to live from there. I'm going to live out my calling from that place. Imagine what this season could look like. Imagine the peace and the joy. Because Jesus came, we can be children of God.